Hi everybody, my name is Barry Schwartz and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, May 29th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search and Roundtable at seroundtable.com. First up, earlier this week we reported on massive local search ranking changes in Google. We weren't sure if it was related to some type of bug or related to some type of ranking change related to the Google Maps racist Google bomb fiasco that happened the week before, where Google said they're going to release a new algorithm to fix it. It turns out, at least all these things that we were seeing, was probably related to a bug. So we covered later on that Google was looking into the reports that people were submitting, including myself, that submitted to Google saying, look at what's going on, these seem to be issues. And Google actually responded to me and saying, we have nothing to say on this matter. And then literally a day later or so, something changed in Google and now everything's back to normal. Location bugs no longer a problem, everything just seems to work. So everything we covered this week about the location stuff in local search changing, it seems like things are back to normal, at least for now, so hopefully things will remain the same. Big news this week is that iOS has now Google has now supported iOS apps for their app indexing protocol. What this means is for past 2-3 years now, Google has supported the ability for Android developers to mark up their Android apps with special code that enables them to figure out what your content is within your native Android app, and then be able to for you to specify a URI that targets a link directly into the app, right to the content. So let's say you have a recipe app and you have a recipe about I don't know, making pizza. You could, if somebody does a search on their mobile phone, on their Android phone, for pizza recipes, Google will then now typically surface your app. If you click on the app, it's not installed, it will install it, and then if it is installed, it would actually direct you directly to the recipe directly in the app, as opposed to just opening the app and asking you to search for it. It'll take you directly to the recipe. And that's called app indexing. Now it's actually fully supported in iOS as well. Google has released their protocol for it. They're testing it with a bunch of apps right now, but they said you could actually prep your app by following the following instructions. So this is great news for iOS developers because it definitely can lead more traffic and more downloads for your app. In addition to that, Google announced yesterday at Google I/O an expansion to their Android base, Android M, which is supporting a new functionality within Google Now called Google Now on Tap. And Google Now on Tap basically lets you, within an app or within content on your Android phone, tap on a specific thing, word, area, whatever it might be, and based on that, it would actually trigger Google Now-like actions by triggering it. So Google Now is more of an abstract thing where it looks at what's going on in your life and will show you information that it thinks relevant to you. Google Now on Tap actually lets you trigger that query of sorts. So for example, here, you do a search for, here's an email you have about, let's go to the movie, see Tomorrowland. You're not sure what Tomorrowland is, so you just tap on that little circle over here. It brings up information about Tomorrowland with relevant links. Same thing over here with a text message you might have received. They ask you about, how about going for Mexican food? Here's a restaurant, and you don't know what that restaurant's about. So again, you tap, it figures out the restaurant information, it gives you links directly into different apps as well. So this is what triggers the app indexing aspect. So again, if you're using app indexing, you can actually trigger not just for iOS and Android in Google mobile search results, but also on Android M, the ability to trigger more traffic to your apps, which is very important. App indexing again, Bing actually announced they're actually building they specifically said massive index of app content based off of app indexing protocol. And this is going to work across Android and iOS. It's currently, and they said they're actually working on Windows 10, of course. The way this works is a little bit different than Google. They use a different protocol, slightly different protocol, but you should definitely look at this applinks.org. That's where you can actually pick up all the stuff in terms of how making your app content at least work for Bing search. John Mueller from Google was actually doing some type of Google Hangout this past week, and during one of his screen shares, he actually switched to his different browsers and he's showing different presentations. And in his browser, on his Chrome browser, it shows his most recent tabs. And you can see Google Events, which is the thing he just launched for this event. You can see Gmail, you can see Google+, a lot of Bing evens there, Webmaster Tools. But over here is something called Google Penalty Server. And obviously, we knew Google had something where they could actually look up penalties. But here is a bookmark with a screenshot showing a Google homepage, kind of, which lets Googlers actually look up if a site, I guess, has a penalty. We don't know more information about that. All we know is that it exists, and we now have a screenshot proving it. Google AdWords released a new feature, a new AdWords report, which is basically gives you ad group details report. About a month ago, they released the campaign level group details report. Now they're releasing it on the ad group level, which gives you actually a lot more details and filtering and so forth around your AdWords campaigns. Also on the AdWords side, Google released last night a new AdWords Editor version 11.1. And there's lots of different changes in here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's lots of different changes in that AdWords Editor that you could actually pull up and learn about on my site. Bunch of funny Google answers this week. If you did a search for what happened to the dinosaurs, Google gave an answer that pretty much gave a biblical response saying, no, there were no really answers. It basically gives a biblical response, which is not the scientific response. People voted it down, and it actually no longer shows up. Also, a bunch of SEOs popped up some funnier examples of mocking Google answers. So, for example, and we covered this a lot in the past, pornographic answers, edits, branding results. So does God love everyone? This one says pretty much not. This one's funny about showing Facebook-related queries answers from Facebook in Google Answers. Here's like, what car does Jesus drive? And you can see it's a Honda Accord. And also this morning, Dr. Pete from Moz went ahead and posted an example of if you search for how do I stop hiccups or stop hiccups in Google, Google gives you these answers, including the last two over here, which are pretty funny. I was thinking by now Google should have removed the emojis from showing up in the search results, and they're still not here. About a month ago, Google said they're going to remove them soon. They're still there. So if you do a search for Google Penguin or emoji or anything, you'll see the emojis are still showing up in your Chrome browser, which is funny, and I was surprised that it actually still shows up by now. Bing Image Search actually integrated that How Old feature, where you could actually go ahead and say, based on this person's picture, how old does Bing think that person is? So all you have to do, again, I think this only works on Windows, but I tried it on a bunch of browsers. It only seemed to work on Windows or Firefox for me. But I did a search for Barry Schwartz, the better looking Barry Schwartz over there. And this little thing comes over here saying how old. You click on it, and it overlays a projection of how old or a guess of how old they think you are, which is pretty fun. So definitely take a look at that. And finally, Google has finally confirmed that Matt Cutts of Google has been replaced as the head of search spam. They have not announced who replaced him. I don't think they will announce who replaced him. They basically said Matt's still on leave. He's still at Google, but he's on leave. He's no longer running the web spam team at Google. And he also didn't detail who did. But they definitely said that there are Googlers out there that have taken that role in terms of webmaster communication, as well as leading the web spam team. Obviously, we know people who have taken the webmaster communication role: John Mueller, Gary Ilias, and a bunch of other Googlers, and so forth. And when somebody asks, "Oh, I'm going to miss you, stay around," Matt Cutts basically said, "I'm still around." I don't know if it means Google or just on social media, but he's there. So anyway, hopefully we'll learn more about Matt Cutts in the next month or two. I guess we'll find out in the near future. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, May 29th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search and Roundtable at seroundtable.com over the past week. Everyone, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Bye.